talking about frontal plane mechanics during a isometric lunge. So this activity just kind of serves as a stand-in for what would occur during mid-stance and the gait cycle with walking or running. I like this view for showing what ought to be happening from a side-to-side perspective. So I already drew some lines here. The horizontal line at my foot and at my eyes just shows us that the foot's firmly flat on the ground and the eyes are level with the horizon. These two things would kind of be archetypical of this movement. If you'll notice, the line that I drew at the hips and the line that I drew at the shoulders, those are not perfectly horizontal. So we can take a closer look at those. So this line and this line are not going to be perfectly horizontal, and this gets us into something called like a zero-sum principle of movement. But essentially, because I'm shifting most of my body weight onto what in this video is the right leg, I would want the pelvis to kind of slide over to the right side and for that left hip to drop, almost like the front of that left hip is driving towards the right knee. And then because if I didn't do anything to, so we're talking about this line here, if I didn't do anything to correct that, then the rest of my body would be pointing in that direction. It's not, which is good, because we can see that this line is occurring. So again, we have an angled line here and an angled line here. And so my spine as a unit is kind of going into this like slight right side bend. This is really, really important because it's a fallacy that we don't want the trunk to move when we go through the gait cycle with running or sprinting. We actually want one side to compress fully as the other side opens fully, and that allows us to maximize movement capability, maximally load one leg to then explode off that leg. So in this side, the right side is closing, so I'm getting ready to load the right leg as the left side is opening. So the zero-sum principle is essentially that I'm right side bending with my trunk in order to make it so that I can keep my eyes and head kind of level. The other thing that I wanted to mention about this is if we're making a straight vertical line, that's a pretty bad straight vertical line. If we're making a straight vertical line down from my nose, you can see it goes through my sternum, it goes through my belly button. What I would want with an activity like this is actually to see my hips come more this way. Because I would want this vertical line to go down to my big toe. I, like everybody else, I am not perfect, and although I'm doing some things well in this picture, I could definitely be doing a better job at getting the hips as a unit over the right leg. What we'd want to see is sort of everything from nose to breastbone to belly button sort of stacked over that big toe. It's a concept that I've heard Pat Davidson refer to as centering. So if we respect the zero-sum properties of this movement, if we can load that hip and side bend a trunk, and if we respect the centering concepts, of which I'm not doing a great job, that establishes a really authentic, really nice frontal plane that allows us to more authentically load one side so that we can then generate the most force out of that side. For this type of exercise, if we're emphasizing the side-to-side motion, muscles I'd want to feel as my pelvis goes over to the right, I would expect to feel some right inner thigh. And as my trunk curls to the right, terrible arrow there, I would expect to feel right ab wall. So those would be kind of key muscles of the frontal plane that would give you a clue that you're doing this kind of exercise right.